don't even get me started. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to throw these bowls out. Bowl. But I'm ready to high step into one of my favorite segments for sure, because I missed it for a whole week. I'm ready. Wait, Nate, do you hear that?
What is it?
I'm ready to get a little messy with Nate because I missed it for a whole week. My dad said Ozzie Newsome, the greatest tight end of all time.
Oh yeah, see, Ozzie was a cold piece.
I probably put him at a solid like 7 of all time. He's definitely top 10. But let's see what Jeff Retepney has to say when you call him. Let's get a little messy with Nate Nessie. Nate, I am very excited for this segment because it's Gator, baby.
It's Gator, baby. Gator don't take no. Ooh, Gator don't take no.
Now, whether you want to call him when Sean Taylor was on the team, the Redskins, the football team, the Commanders, we're talking about that team in D.C. That's got a lot of work. Now, you recently had them being one of the only 2 teams that had a vacant head coaching spot open. So what they decided to do, Nate? They decided to hire a man who they said had a plan. Now, you had a dude who was freaking kind of balling out with a man named Sam Howell. You had a guy who was calling the shots over there offensively, Eric Bieniemy. Now, Cy made a good point when we were talking about it in Mobile. Why don't they just elevate Bieniemy to that head coaching position? Now, I was researching. I like to do my research before I get on this show so I don't sound dumb and I sound intelligent. The man didn't have a plan. He didn't have a plan set up where Washington was like, okay, we want you. We want you to be our head coach for the next 5 years. Because generally it's like a 5-ish year deal that they like to give head coaches where they're going to sit out and plan out every single thing that they are going to do within that in the next 5 years. Well, Eric Bieniemy didn't only get dropped from that vacant head coaching position. He got dropped from his position that he held in general. They decided to throw him out the back door and hire Cliff Kingsbury. Now, for those of you that don't know, Cliff Kingsbury was at Arizona. He's literally the man responsible for Case Keenum, Johnny Manziel,
Johnny Football,
freaking Patrick Mahomes, all these big names in college and Heisman winners and stuff. But we see a dude who he's responsible for. He went to a certain place after Arizona called USC, the University of Southern California. And it just so happens that he had another Heisman winner there. His name is Caleb Williams. Now, the Washington Commanders Redskins football team currently have the number 2 spot in the draft right now. We see them most likely drafting a quarterback to fill their needs because they believe that that is a spot that they need so that they can go to a playoff. Any team believes that. Whether or not they hit the freaking jackpot and get somebody at number 2 is what we're going to see. My question, Nate, now I thought about it. I have thought this entire months, all these months. Now people can disagree with me. They want to label Caleb Williams. And I say they. It's usually just one dude that's a Bears fan that so happens to be on this show.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
He labels Caleb Williams as a generational talent. I don't think Caleb Williams is a generational talent. I don't think he's the number 1 overall pick in this draft. I don't think he's the best player in this draft. I think Chicago trades the number 1 overall pick. Whether or not y'all want to yell at me in the comments, I got freaking ripped apart last week by making this statement. And I mean, we're going to see it when Caleb Williams goes, and I'll be like, okay, he wasn't all that, was he? The man's never beaten a top 10 defense in his college career, which you can say wins on a quarterback stat. I don't care if you don't have that freaking put the team on your back 2-minute offense. Then what are you, man? If you can, he could throw for 5 touchdowns a game. He could do that. But he can't win the game with 5 touchdowns. You take Caleb Williams. Man, never beaten a top 10 defense. But he won the Heisman. He's a good ball player. I'm not discrediting Caleb Williams. I just don't think. In fact, I know he's not the best player in this draft, and he's not the number 1 overall player that should be picked. I've been yapping, Nate. My question is, do we see a reunion in D.C.? Now, have you seen the movie Draft Day?
Mm-hmm.
You can call a lot of people's bluff on Draft Day, but there's one thing that, what's his name? Kevin Costner, right? That there's one thing that he did in that movie. He called people's bluff.
He did. He called him that bluff in that draft room. Yes, he did on Draft Day. Yes, he did. He
traded everything for a player that they thought was going to be generational. And then guess what he did with all that stuff he traded away? Right, he traded away that pick that they were going to use to draft that generational player for draft capital beyond any team's imagination. That's exactly what the Chicago Bears could do. You could say they could play the game where they think they're hyping up Caleb Williams. All Chicago Bears fans, everybody's hyping up Caleb Williams. He's going to be the number 1 draft pick. He's going to be number 1 overall. He's a dog. He does this, he does this, he does that, and he does that. Whatever. I think Ryan Poles is playing the bluff game like Kevin Costner. He's going to try to get as much draft capital as he can from this pick. Oh, no, he just traded the number 1 overall pick 2 years in a row. We've never seen it done before. There's a lot of things we've never seen before, like Florida State going 13-0 and not making the freaking college football playoffs. There's a lot of things we've seen that hasn't happened in football history that has happened this year.
Go, Connor.
The Chicago Bears do not need Caleb Williams. There's a lot of things that they need to fill on that roster. If they kept Eberflus, if they wanted to restart, they would have fired Eberflus. Then they should have pressed the restart button. They shouldn't have gone back, and they shouldn't have kept going with the lives Mario had left. He should have just said game over, and you restart from world 1-1. But they didn't do that. They kept eating as many mushrooms as they could, kept getting them 1 more lives, kept going and trudging. And Eberflus, he might not be Mario. He might just be Bowser for the Chicago Bears, but they kept him for a reason. They kept him. And now I could just be yapping and make the biggest freaking worst prediction that I've ever made. The Chicago Bears trade the number 1 overall pick. They don't draft Caleb Williams. Ryan Poles pulls a draft day. He ends up somehow getting, you want to talk about generational talent, Nate? I almost called you MJ. Sorry. That's disrespectful. I apologize. You draft somebody that is the 4th best wide receiver prospect in the entirety of college football. Do you want to know who the 3 wide receivers are better than this man in this draft class? Do you want to know? Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, and Larry Fitz, all top 5 wide receivers of all time. Those guys had better draft grades than Marvin Harrison Jr., and they paid off. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best player in this draft class. The Chicago Bears can somehow draft Marvin Harrison Jr., get draft capital, and draft a quarterback. That may not be Caleb Williams. Could be Jaden Daniels. Could be Bo Nix. Could be Michael Penix. And just see where it goes. Because, look, they want to talk about contract stuff with Justin Fields. You're a smart GM, Ryan Poles. I trust you. You can do what needs to be done to keep Justin Fields and somehow make it team-friendly enough to where if it doesn't go the right way, you're still going to be able to recover from it. But you have a chance to get the best player in the draft class. This quarterback draft is stacked. You have a chance to get the best wide receiver prospects since Larry Fitz and Randy Moss and Calvin Johnson. You have a chance to get one of the best quarterbacks in college football we've had this year that can actually beat a top 10 defense, might I add. Somebody like Jaden Daniels or some. Now, if I was the Chicago Bears, I would trade the number 1 overall draft pick, get draft capital, get Marvin Harrison Jr., and get Jaden Daniels. That would be my pick. You have the number 1 and the number 9 pick, and y'all think I'm crazy. You can say I'm crazy. You have the most draft capital out of anybody in this whole draft. use it. It's there for a reason. You can't take it with you. You can't take it with you. Use it. You have a chance to get the top 3 best quarterback. I think Jaden Daniels is better than Caleb Williams. People can argue with me. The man broke crazy records in college, making defenses look silly. You have a chance to do something that's never been done before. So why not go ahead and do it? Go ahead and do it, Nate. Draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Draft somebody like Jaden Daniels. Go ahead and make the trades. Pull your bluff game, Ryan Poles. If you think Caleb Williams is the best, I know he's not. You know he's not. Don't let the other people know he's not, because use that to your advantage. Play a Kevin Costner. You might not be the Browns, but you can be something better.
Ooh, Connor. I don't need to say nothing. I really don't need to say nothing. Connor, that was amazing.
They ripped me to shreds last week.
Because again, if we're going to talk about generational talent, what defines generational talent? We can't say a Heisman Trophy defines generational talent.
We can't, because there's been
because if I'm not mistaken, there's a player by the name of Jason Smith that went to the University of Oklahoma who won the Heisman Trophy, and he had bad knees. That's not generational talent. Generational talent, Charlie Ward won the Heisman Trophy and didn't wind up in the NFL. He wound up in the NBA. So when we define generational talent, I'm going to, from the quarterback position, generational talent is the likes of an Andrew Luck. Generational talent, and this is a stretch right now. Generational talent, Patrick Mahomes. That's generational talent. When we talk generational talent from the quarterback position, we're talking about the great Peyton Manning. You know, again, when we talk about generational talent, Adrian Peterson, there's so many there. Bo Jackson, Lawrence Taylor, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Sean Taylor. Again, people that transcend the position and so forth. I don't necessarily say, I don't want to knock Caleb Williams, but is he generational talent? No. Did he have a great year at USC? Yes, he did. That's a lot of things that, you know, we can say Brock Bowers is generational talent, because for him to do some of the things he can do, that's freakishly JJ Watt, Aaron Donald, some people, again, they transform. Rob Gronkowski, they transform the position, you know. So to say he's generational talent, I don't want to say he is, but I'm not going to knock him saying that he's not going to have possibly have a successful NFL career. But what do I see the Commanders doing? You got to play that bluff. Like really, the ball is in the court of the Chicago Bears. What are you going to do? You mess around and you can go ahead and get great draft capital and flip that draft capital. You know, you had a good team that in the Chicago Bears, and they started to come on at the end of the season. Build off that. I watched Dan Campbell last year, not this year. Last year, I think they won 7 out of their last 9 games in Detroit. They built off of that momentum from last year, and then look what it got him at.
Guess how they built, though? What they used to build?
They had draft capital.
They had draft capital.
They had a lot of,
they had a lot of it.
Ryan Poles, if you're going to do this, you got to be smart. You look at the areas your team need, and you have the number one. You have 2 top 10 picks, if I'm not mistaken.
Number 1 and number 9.
You think people won't give up a little something for that?
I think people will give up a lot of something. But let me ask you, is Justin Fields the problem in Chicago? Because there's a scenario. There is a scenario, Nate. If Ryan Poles drafts Caleb Williams number 1 and he does not pan out, he's gone. There's a scenario if he acquires the draft capital and the needs to draft somebody like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jaden Daniels, and they pan out, he will keep his job for the next, I don't know how many years, because there's nobody that's going to fire him after that.
I don't necessarily say you need to draft a quarterback. You look at the holes in the position that you need to do. You can draft a receiver and you draft the top O lineman. Again, Justin Fields is a quality football player. He just needs quality coaching. and quality tools behind him to help him be successful. You know, if you're going to draft a quarterback, you want to make sure he has all the tools in his belt so he can be successful. Coaching, protection, the weapons, and the skill position around him. You know, that's the thing. You know, you look at it again. You look at the likes of a C.J. Stroud, who I love. C.J. Stroud. He went into a great position, a great situation in Houston. Great coach in D'Amico. He has great weapons around him. He has a running game and a good defense. You know what I'm saying? He has the tools necessary for him to be successful. Now it's on him to be successful. Film study, applying himself on the field and off the field. I mean, you get Justin Fields the quality that he needs. Again, you judge him off of that. You judge him off of that and see where it takes him. But he needs quality coaching and he needs quality pieces around him for him to get better.
Because in the Bears fans' minds, no, this is how they think. They think if we sign Justin Fields for a contract, we got to keep him for 10 years. There is a world where Ryan Poles could sign Justin Fields to a 2-year, even a 1-year deal. There's a world where he could give him the most team-friendly contract and draft, have the greatest draft class in Bears history.
Yeah.
You have so much draft capital. You have to be smart, and you have to use it correctly. Continue to do what you're doing by hyping up Caleb Williams. This is perfect because when draft day comes and you trade away that number 1 overall pick and you do it for 2 years in a row and then stick your foot in everybody's freaking mouth for saying, it's not going to pan out. And then you draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and freaking Jaden Daniels. And then you're not the Chicago Bears anymore. You're the freaking Chicago Grizzlies because right now you're playing like koala bears and we need you to play like Grizzlies. Because once that happens, people aren't going to be looking at the Packers. They're not going to be looking at the Lions or the Vikings in that division. They're going to be looking at the freaking Chicago Grizzly Bears. But in order for you to get there, you have all this draft capital. You have all this money. Go out and use it. I don't have a coupon and it expires next month. I don't use it the last day it expires. I can't take it with me. I got to use it sometime. You have these coupons. They're expiring soon. If you want to buy one, get one, you got yourself a buy one, get one quarterback wide receiver duo. Go ahead and use it, Ryan Poles.
Go get it. Go get it. Go get it. Drops Mike. Drops Mike. That's Connor right there. That's Connor D. That's Connor D.
It's Gator Baby.
It's Gator Baby.
Man, we got people joining. They just missed my whole rant. Come on now. You're going to have to go back and watch it. But, Nate, I need to set the tone. Because you got me over here getting a little messy. I'm getting a little too messy, might I add. And I might be getting a little bit more messy when I...
That was your part right there. I'm just sitting over here in amazement. I'm just like, okay, Connor. I'm just sitting over here in amazement.